The rain fell in sheets as Detective Marcus Reed stood motionless outside the small brick bungalow in Atlanta. Blue and red lights from police cars cut through the darkness, painting his face in harsh flashes as neighbors huddled under umbrellas, whispering among themselves. Inside that home lay the body of 28-year-old Nia Holloway, a woman who just 48 hours earlier had been a beaming bride. "Third homicide this month," muttered Officer Chin, joining Reed under the shelter of a large oak tree. "But this one's different." Different indeed. The detective's eyes moved from the crime scene to a photo recovered from the living room, Nia in a white dress, smiling next to her new husband Darius Jefferson. The same man who now sat in the back of a police car, hands cuffed behind his back. 2 days. From wedding vows to widowmaker in just 2 days. Reed shook his head as the rain dripped from his coat. How does someone go from promising forever to ending it all before the thank you cards are even written? Have you ever wondered how someone could go from saying, "I do," to becoming a killer in just 2 days? What secrets hide behind those perfect wedding photos we all share and like online? The truth is, most killers don't look like monsters. They look like the charming guy next door, the successful businessman, the loving husband who brings flowers every Friday. For Nia Holloway, the signs were there. Small moments, tiny red flags that everyone, including her, missed or explained away. By the time anyone realized the danger, it was too late. If you believe that understanding these warning signs could save lives, hit that subscribe button and join our Crazy Crime Files community. This isn't just another murder story, it's a lesson that might help you spot danger before it strikes close to home. Because sometimes the most dangerous person isn't a stranger in the shadows, it's the one holding your hand at the altar. Nia Holloway lit up every room she entered. At 28, she had already launched her own event planning business that was gaining traction across Atlanta. Friends described her as sunshine in human form. Always ready with a genuine smile, a helping hand, and boundless energy for new projects and ideas. Nia believed in people, recalled her mother during later interviews. She saw the good in everyone even when they couldn't see it themselves. This same optimism led her to fall hard for Darius Jefferson, a smooth-talking real estate agent with ambitious plans and a winning smile. After a whirlwind 8-month romance, they decided to marry in an intimate ceremony at Evergreen Baptist, a 130-year-old stone church nestled in one of Atlanta's oldest black neighborhoods. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Just 60 guests gathered in wooden pews adorned with white roses and gold ribbon. A testament to Nia's elegant taste even on a modest budget. She walked down the aisle in a vintage-inspired gown, carrying lilies and wearing her grandmother's pearl earrings. She was glowing, remembered her cousin Marcus. But looking back, Darius seemed tense. Even during the vows, his eyes kept scanning the crowd instead of focusing on her. Other guests noticed similar moments. During the reception at a local restaurant, Darius pulled Nia away from a conversation with a male colleague, his grip on her arm just tight enough to make a few people exchange glances. When she danced with her father, Darius watched from the sidelines, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. But it was Tasha Bennett, Nia's best friend since college, who felt the strongest alarm bells. "Something felt off from the first time I met him," Tasha later told police. "The way he'd text her constantly when we had girls' nights. How he'd question her about male clients. I tried telling her 3 weeks before the wedding that maybe they should wait." Nia had brushed off these concerns with a laugh. "He's just protective because he loves me so much," she'd explained. "You'll see, he'll calm down once we're married." When Tasha hugged Nia goodbye at the end of the wedding night, she whispered one last plea, "Call me anytime, day or night, if you need anything." Nia had nodded, still smiling, completely unaware that she had less than 48 hours to live. To everyone in his social circle, Darius DJ Jefferson was the definition of success. At 32, he drove a sleek black Audi, wore designer suits, and carried himself with the easy confidence of someone who belonged in upscale spaces. His business cards read, Executive Real Estate Consultant. and his Instagram showed property viewings in Atlanta's most exclusive neighborhoods. "He had this way of making you feel important," said James Collins, a former colleague. "He'd remember your kid's name, ask about your vacation. People liked being around him because he made them feel seen." This magnetic charm extended to community events, where DJ volunteered at fundraisers and networked effortlessly. He donated to local causes and spoke eloquently about building generational wealth in Black communities. His phone constantly buzzed with messages and calls, evidence, it seemed, of his busy, successful life. But behind closed doors, a completely different man emerged. Police investigations later revealed that Darius's real estate license was on probation after client complaints. His bank accounts showed massive debt, 3 maxed-out credit cards, missed car payments, and a looming tax audit. The Audi was leased under a business partner's name, and he'd been quietly selling off watches and electronics to make rent. His entire life was built on quicksand, Detective Reed explained. He created an image that required constant maintenance, and the pressure was crushing him. This financial house of cards fed Darius's deep-seated insecurities. Growing up with an absent father and a mother who worked 3 jobs, he developed an intense fear of abandonment and failure. These fears manifested as control mechanisms in his relationships. Classic narcissistic tendencies coupled with financial distress, noted Dr. Leanne Parks, the forensic psychologist who assessed him after his arrest. He couldn't control his crumbling professional life, so he hyper-controlled his personal one instead. With previous girlfriends, this control had started subtly, checking their phones, questioning male friendships, making small comments about their clothes or makeup. When women eventually pulled away, it confirmed his belief that he would always be left behind. With Nia, the stakes were higher, Dr. Parks explained. Marriage represented permanent security to him. Any perceived threat to that security, her success, her independence, her social connections, became intolerable. In public, DJ Jefferson was charming, generous, and attentive. In private, he monitored Nia's calls, criticized her choices, and isolated her from friends who didn't support their relationship. The man who publicly praised strong Black women in business, privately resented his wife's growing success and independence. The gap between these two versions of himself was growing wider by the day. The warning signs in Nia and Darius's relationship appeared long before their wedding day. During their first date, he called her 3 times before she arrived at the restaurant. "Just making sure you're safe," he'd explained, though she was only running 5 minutes late. Within weeks, his checking-in texts came hourly. If she missed one, he'd call repeatedly until she answered. When she mentioned this to her sister, Nia laughed it off. "He worries because he cares so much." As months passed, the signs grew more concerning. Darius questioned why Nia needed to meet male clients alone and suggested she bring him along for safety. He commented when she wore form-fitting clothes, asking if she was trying to get attention. He scrolled through her phone while she showered and questioned contacts he didn't recognize. "It's not jealousy," Nia told her mother when she noticed his behavior at a family dinner. "He's protective because his ex cheated on him. He just needs time to build trust." But trust never came. Instead, his control tightened. He convinced Nia to share her location through phone tracking in case of emergencies. He questioned expenses on her personal credit card. He showed up unexpectedly at her girls' nights out, claiming he just wanted to surprise her. Tasha Bennett saw all this happening and tried repeatedly to intervene. "I sent Nia articles about controlling partners," Tasha told investigators. "I pointed out how he'd changed her routine, how she'd stopped doing things she loved. I even showed her a relationship checklist from a domestic violence website where she ticked 7 boxes." 3 months before the wedding, Tasha made a final attempt during a rare lunch without Darius. "This isn't love, Nia. Love doesn't track your movements or check your texts or make you afraid to live your life." Nia had grown defensive. "You just don't understand him. He had a rough childhood. Besides, he's never hit me." You're making something out of nothing. That lunch ended with tension between the friends, exactly what Darius wanted. Isolating Nia from those who questioned his behavior gave him complete control. If you've ever noticed these warning signs in a relationship, excessive jealousy, constant checking in, isolation from friends, monitoring of movements, share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone recognize danger before it's too late. 2 days after their wedding, Nia and Darius sat across from each other at their dining room table. She had lit candles and prepared his favorite meal, fried chicken, mac and cheese, and collard greens, hoping to ease the tension that had been building since they returned from their one-night honeymoon at a local hotel. The small bungalow felt oddly quiet aside from the soft music playing from Nia's phone. Outside, rain tapped gently against the windows as evening settled over Atlanta. "This is delicious," Darius said, his voice warm as he reached for her hand. "I'm sorry about earlier. I didn't mean to check your phone. I just saw that text come in and—" "It was just my cousin asking about Thanksgiving plans," Nia interrupted. She'd been through this cycle before. Darius would apologize, seem genuinely regretful, then find a new reason for suspicion within hours. "I know, baby. I know." His smile seemed sincere. "Marriage is an adjustment. I'm learning." For 20 minutes, dinner continued peacefully. Darius asked about her upcoming client meeting. Nia shared ideas for redecorating their bedroom. It almost felt normal, until her phone buzzed again. Darius's expression hardened instantly. "Who's texting you this late?" "Probably Tasha. Or work. Does it matter?" Nia's voice carried an edge of exhaustion. "If it doesn't matter, why can't I see it?" His tone shifted, a cold undercurrent replacing the warmth from moments before. The argument escalated from there. What began as a dispute about text messages expanded to include accusations about a male vendor Nia had met with that morning, comments about her disrespect, and eventually, Darius's financial troubles. "I saw the bank noticed you transferred money to your personal account," he said, pacing the living room. "We're married now. Your money is our money." "That was for my business expenses," Nia replied, clearing dishes with shaking hands. "We agreed my business would stay separate." "So you're hiding money from me already? Planning your exit strategy?" As midnight approached, Nia retreated to their bedroom, locking the door, something she'd never done before. Through the door, she could hear Darius muttering, opening and closing cabinets, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood floors. At 1:26 a.m., Nia's phone lit up with a text from Tasha. "Just checking on you. Love you." When Darius saw the notification appear on Nia's smartwatch charging on the coffee table, something inside him broke. The thought of Nia confiding in Tasha about their arguments, about his financial problems, about his failures as a husband, it was too much. He retrieved the handgun he kept in his office drawer. Originally purchased for home protection, it now felt heavy in his palm as he walked to the bedroom door. "Nia, open the door. We need to talk." His voice was frighteningly calm. "Go to sleep, Darius. We'll talk tomorrow. Open the door now." He pounded once, hard enough to crack the frame. When Nia finally opened the door, eyes wide with fear, Darius raised the gun. The single gunshot echoed through the quiet neighborhood at 1:38 a.m. At 1:42 a.m., Darius Jefferson called 911, his voice cracking with what sounded like panic. "Someone broke in, they shot my wife. Please hurry," he gasped between sobs. "I tried to stop them but they ran out the back door." When police arrived 4 minutes later, they found Darius kneeling beside Nia's body in the hallway, his hands and shirt covered in blood. The back door stood open, rain puddling on the kitchen floor. He was crying but there were no tears, Officer Chin noted in her report. His eyes kept darting around the room like he was checking his work. Detective Marcus Reed arrived 30 minutes later. With 20 years of homicide experience, he noticed the inconsistencies immediately. The back door showed no signs of forced entry. Nothing had been stolen. Most telling was the lack of footprints in the muddy yard beyond the open door. Impossible if an intruder had fled that way in the pouring rain. "Walk me through what happened," Reed asked Darius, who sat wrapped in a shock blanket on the couch. His story came out rehearsed. He'd heard a noise, found an intruder in the hallway confronting Nia, struggled with the man, and the gun went off. The supposed intruder then ran out the back while Darius tended to his wife. But forensics told a different story. Gunshot residue covered Darius's hands. The weapon, a .38 revolver registered in his name, was found wiped clean and hidden under the couch cushion where he sat. Most damning was the bullet's path, fired at close range, traveling at a downward angle consistent with someone of Darius's height standing over Nia. By sunrise, Darius Jefferson was in custody, charged with first-degree murder. News spread quickly through the neighborhood. Neighbors gathered outside the police tape, many still in pajamas and robes, struggling to process what had happened. "They just got married," whispered Mrs. Johnson from next door. "I heard them arguing last night, but married folks argue. I never thought." At Evergreen Baptist, where the couple had exchanged vows just days earlier, the congregation held an emergency prayer service. Nia's photograph, the same one from the wedding, sat surrounded by flowers at the altar where she had become a bride. "Our community is shattered," Pastor Williams told reporters. "2 lives ended that night, Nia's by bullet, and the life we thought Darius was living, revealed now as a terrible lie." 3 days after the murder, Tasha Bennett sat across from Detective Reed in the police station, her eyes red from crying. "I should have done more," she said, sliding her phone across the table. "I saved these texts from Nia over the past year." The messages painted a disturbing timeline. Darius checking Nia's odometer to verify her trips, getting angry when male clients called after hours, accidentally breaking a necklace given to her by a former boyfriend. 2 weeks ago, she told me he wanted her to add him to her life insurance policy, Tasha explained. She thought it was sweet that he was planning for their future. This revelation prompted detectives to seize Darius's laptop and phone. What they found shocked even seasoned investigators. His search history included queries like, how to make murder look like home invasion, gunshot residue removal, and average life insurance payout spouse. Financial records revealed $87,000 in hidden debt, 3 collection agencies pursuing him, and a gambling problem he'd concealed from everyone. Most disturbing was a note in his phone drafted the night before the wedding: "Can't back out now. Marriage equals access to her accounts. Solve everything." When confronted with this evidence in his 3rd interrogation, Darius's confident demeanor finally collapsed. "You don't understand the pressure," he muttered, refusing to meet Detective Reed's eyes. "Her business was taking off while mine was failing. She was going to find out eventually about the money, about everything. And that's why you killed her?" Reed asked quietly. Darius's response chilled everyone in the room. "She would have left me. They always leave." The prosecutor later called it one of the most calculated cases of domestic homicide she had ever seen, a murder planned before the marriage even began. If you think justice should be served in cases like these, hit that like button and share this video. Every share helps raise awareness about the warning signs that might save someone's life. 6 months after Nia's death, Darius Jefferson stood trial in a packed Atlanta courtroom. The prosecution presented over 200 pieces of evidence. The murder weapon with his fingerprints beneath the wiping marks, text messages showing his controlling behavior, financial records revealing his desperate situation, and the damning searches on his devices. His defense team attempted to paint him as a loving husband pushed to breaking point by stress and temporary insanity. But when Tasha took the stand and shared voice messages Nia had secretly sent her, including one from their honeymoon where Darius could be heard threatening her for talking to the hotel receptionist, the jury's expressions hardened. After just 4 hours of deliberation, the verdict came back: guilty of first-degree murder with premeditation. The judge sentenced Darius to life without possibility of parole. This wasn't a crime of passion, the judge stated. This was a calculated act by a man who saw his wife as property rather than a partner. Outside the courthouse, hundreds gathered with candles and photos of Nia. What began as a memorial evolved into a movement. Local women's shelters reported a 40% increase in calls for help in the months following the trial, with many callers specifically mentioning Nia's story. Tasha established the Nia Holloway Foundation, which now provides emergency housing and legal aid to people trying to leave dangerous relationships. The Atlanta Police Department implemented new training protocols to help officers identify high-risk domestic situations before they turn deadly. Nia's death wasn't in vain, Tasha told reporters on the first anniversary of her friend's murder. She's helping save lives every day through her story. Subscribe now for more crazy crime files that not only tell these stories but help us all learn from them. Each video might just contain the warning sign that saves someone you love. Nia Holloway's story represents more than just another headline. Her life and how it ended holds lessons for all of us about relationships, safety, and the courage to speak up. The path from controlling behavior to violence follows a pattern experts see repeatedly. What starts as checking in becomes monitoring. What begins as concern transforms into accusations. What feels like protection becomes restriction of freedom. By recognizing these warning signs early, lives can be saved. Control is not love, explains Dr. Tamara Wilson, domestic violence expert. Love supports independence. Control demands obedience. Understanding this difference is critical. Research shows that the most dangerous time in abusive relationships is when the victim attempts to leave. This explains why many stay, not from weakness but from legitimate fear. Adding marriage, financial entanglement, or pregnancy increases risk factors significantly. If you or someone you know shows these warning signs, resources exist. A National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, text, START, to 88788 for crisis support. Local women's shelters provide emergency housing. Legal aid societies offer free restraining order assistance. Workplace EAP programs often include confidential counseling. Today, Nia's memory lives on through her foundation and the lives saved by her story. Her mother keeps a journal of letters from people who left dangerous relationships after learning about Nia's case. "My daughter can't speak anymore," she shared at a recent awareness event. But through her story, she's still saving lives. The question is, will you listen when someone tries to warn you? Will you be the friend who speaks up when you see the signs? Because silence doesn't protect anyone. Only truth does.